First of all, Chodesh Tov to everyone here. Baruch Hashem, Rosh Chodesh Tammuz, like we spoke about yesterday. Sorry for everybody, if you could just put yourself on mute for the class, and then at the end we're going to take questions.
Can I get another refuah shlema for a couple more people?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
Okay, so for refuah shlema for Yehuda ben Sarah.
Yehuda ben Sarah.
Yeah, Yehuda, yeah, and Ora Olga.
Or Olga.
Bat Nekadam.
Bat Nekadam. Yes, Mama should have a refuah shlema of the neshama of the group. And people. Okay. Yeah, you have more? Okay, good. So listen to this because it's very important. And whoever's not on mute, please mute yourself, okay? I can press mute, but it's going to take you off mute if you take yourself off mute, and then I'm not going to be able to do it. So just please put yourself on mute. Your body and your soul are an organic system. That means that they work hand in hand. When your neshama, when your God consciousness is in exile, your body becomes sick physically. Because the life force of the body is the neshama, is the soul, is the da'at, is consciousness, God consciousness. Many of us are sick. Almost all of us. And whether we like to admit that or not, it's a fact. If you're angry, it means you're sick. If you're sad, it means you're sick. I'm not saying you're sick, you're crazy. That's not what I'm saying. But that's not the way Hashem created us. You know the word Bereshit, bara, to create. The root of the word briut, health, and the word bara is the same. That when Hashem created everything, He created everything healthy. So why are we so sick? Why are we sad? Why are we angry? Why are we confused? Why do we have back pain? Why do we have lower back pain? Why do we have leg pain? Why do we have headaches? Stomach issues. When I was in social work school, they showed us a whole video trying to prove that the number one cause of all physical illness is stress. It's not genetic. It's not passed down physically. It's stress. Where does stress come from? It comes from not having emunah. You don't believe in Hashem. That's why you're stressed. Are you going to say, well, what are you talking about? I don't believe in Hashem. How can you say I don't believe in Hashem? So Rabbi Nachman doesn't say belief in Hashem means I believe that there's a God that exists. The whole world at this point almost all believes that. Or if not, and they're atheists, okay, but 1,000 years ago, you had many before that, or you had people who believed in many gods. Very few people believe in many gods at this point. Everybody either believes in one God or they don't believe in any God. So what is emunah? What is faith? So Nachman says emunah means that you believe in Chiddush HaOlam. You believe in the fact that Hashem renews the Bria, the creation, at every moment. That's what emunah is. That even though physically things in your eyes, your physical eyes look the same, you believe and you experience in a way that's beyond the perception of your eyes, that's a greater knowing than what you see. That Hashem is actually recreating the physical and all the spiritual universes at every single moment. My life looks the same. Everything looks the same. Because your consciousness, your da'at, is in exile. Why are we mourning the loss of the Beit HaMikdash? Because the Arizal teaches, Rabbi Nachman teaches, that the Beit HaMikdash is a physical manifestation of God consciousness, da'at. It was the space where the Shekhinah was revealed, where God consciousness was experienced, not just believed in, you experienced it. And it was destroyed. So we're mourning every day about the fact that our minds are in exile. You're going to say, what do you mean? I have my mind. I'm thinking all the time. So Rav Nachman has the greatest chiddush in the world for you. You are not thinking with your mind. Because your mind doesn't have bad thoughts. Your mind is a piece of godliness. It's pure. It's beautiful. It's happy. It's joyful. It thinks clearly. It's united. It sees Hashem in everything. How come we don't experience that? Because our da'at is in exile. Then you can't have emunah. You can't believe in Chiddush HaOlam. You can't believe in the renewal of the universe at every moment unless you're learning about it. And it's not even enough to learn about it. Then you have to pray to Hashem to believe in that. Like we're learning in this Torah. You have to take what you learned from Rabbeinu, from Rabbi Nachman, from the Nachal Neveh Makor Chochma, from the mikveh of God consciousness, and you have to pray to Hashem to be able to experience whatever it is He's talking about. And then when you do, it becomes da'at. Because when you speak out Torah, then it becomes imprinted in your heart. That's called da'at, consciousness. Like it says, and you should know Hashem and you should take it to your heart. So the Ramchal says, why don't you just say you should know Hashem? Because it's not the goal. It's not enough to know that Hashem exists. Your life doesn't change because you know that Hashem exists. But if you place it into your heart, if you knock it into your heart, if you hammer it into your heart, that Hashem is above, He's below, ain't owed. Not just that there's no other God, there's nothing else besides Him. It's all Hashem. Then your life is sweet. In fact, to know that Hashem exists and not to feel it in your heart might be the most painful experience that there is. To really mamish know that Hashem is there and I don't see Him anywhere, I don't experience Him anywhere, that's very painful. That's confusing. Emunah is that you believe in Mechadesh, that Hashem is Mechadesh, that He's renewing everything at every moment. That means that if everything has not been going well for you up to this point in your life, for 20 years, for 25 years, for 30 years, for 35 years, for 40, 45, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years, Hashem can change it like this. What's the proof? Because if Hashem is recreating the universe at every moment, it means that He made that same situation every moment in your life until now. And just like He did that until now, He can now change that. It's not hard for Him. It's hard for us to believe that. To take the Torah that you learned from the Tzaddik, working consciousness. Look at me. I didn't believe in Hashem my whole life. When I came and I became Bali Tshuva, I did it because I connected to Chassidut. There were answers in there I've been looking for my whole life. So I connected intellectually to a truth in it. But eventually you hit a very big brick wall. Why? Because you eventually have to jump into the ocean of Emunah. You can't avoid that. And you don't have to. Because it's fun to jump into the water. But when you have no guidance, when you have no clarity, when you have no real direction, when you don't have a tzaddik that you can rely on every single word that he says, that you can trust every single thing that comes out of his mouth, you can take it to the bank. You didn't experience it yet? Okay, that's something. That doesn't take away from what he's saying is not true. You just haven't experienced it yet. But it's real. I had no faith at all. Not a little faith, no faith. No faith in myself, no faith that the Torah existed, no faith that Hashem is real. And even after I was interested in the Torah and learning it and learning Geshmak things, I didn't actually believe in Hashem. I was just like, oh, this is interesting. You know, this is exciting. This is meaningful. But then life happens. You get married, you have kids, you have work, you have all of these things going on and all of these difficulties, and you have no way to cope. Because to know is not enough. You need to have emunah. You need to believe what you know. And Rav Nachman in the first two Torahs of Likutey Moharan has taught us the key to doing that. He's saying it in different ways in Torah Aleph and Torah Bet, but the answer is the same. Turn Rav Nachman's Torah into tefillah. That is how you get da'at. That's how you get consciousness. Consciousness that you live with. And then you won't be sick. Sickness of life force and unity within your soul, within your body. When there is unity within your soul and your body, you're not sick. Where does back pain come from? Stress. Where do the majority of stomach problems come from? Stress. Where do headaches come from? A lot of times it comes from stress. You don't have to be stressed. The world is going to convince you you need medical help, you need psychological help, you need emotional help, you need doctors and therapists, lawyers, you need undergraduate school, you need graduate school. You need to owe the government hundreds of thousands of dollars that you're going to be spending the rest of your life trying to pay off at a job that you hate. And then you're going to go see a therapist because you're not going to know what's wrong. You're working 14 hours a day and you hate your business even though you never tried the job before. You have no idea what it is. And then when you look for answers, their answer is you're not well. So you have to go see a therapist who's going to tell you you're sick. He's going to give you a diagnosis, a medical diagnosis for something they don't have physical proof of that it's physical. And they're going to give you handmade medications which have more side effects than you could possibly imagine. And they're going to build into your system that you are sick, that there's something wrong with you. You know what the scariest thing is? There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You know why you're not happy? Because society is messed up. You know why you're not happy? Because you hate your job. That's why you're not happy. You know why you're not happy? Because you're not connected to reality. We're in the greatest country in the world, the United States of America. You have the highest rates of depression and anxiety here in the world. But I thought it's the greatest country in the world. Based on what? Based on what? I studied abroad in Europe, studied in Spain for a semester. That was one of the most life-changing experiences. To see that there's people who live differently than they do here. They weren't obsessed with money. They had a siesta in the middle of the day. They worked for a few hours. They went home. They spent time with their family. They had a beautiful lunch. They drank a beer. They chilled out a little bit. They went back to work. Then at night, okay. I mean, there was not a lot of spiritual need. Everyone wasn't running to do drugs. Everybody feel they need to do drugs. It's not because something's wrong with our generation. It's because something wrong with society. And we are looking for an escape because we need to. All of a sudden, the tzaddik comes along and he says, you know what? You don't have to go anywhere. You can act to Hashem from wherever you are, everywhere. You can find happiness without having. Maybe at the Torah you learned in yeshiva. You can enter into a transcendent meditative state through prayer with fervor. Maybe not the prayer you're used to. You could be happy all the time, and it doesn't matter what's going on. And we're all terrified to do that. Terrified. Yes, I hate my life. Yes, I would do anything. Yes, I've been looking at, listening to this motivational speaker and reading this magazine and going to this seminar and hanging out with this group of guys. So I'm searching for it, but I have an answer in front of me, and I'm just terrified to do something different. Okay, Yofi, I understand. But if you want to be healthy, you have what to be healthy with. But you're going to have to be different. Doesn't mean you're not going to be normal. You're actually going to be normal. But you can't be like everyone else. Because if you're doing what everyone else does, you're going to feel like everyone else feels. It's not rocket science. Rav Nachman says at the end of this Torah, Baruch Hashem, Zeh Perush, this is the explanation. And more el Kohanim, speak to the Kohanim. Hashem said to Moshe, speak to the Kohanim. This is from the book of Vayikra, when he was telling the Kohanim that they're not allowed to be near the dead. They're not allowed. If you're a Kohen, you're not allowed to be near the dead. So Moshe was told by Hashem to go tell Aaron. And more Kohanim, speak to the Kohanim, bechina tefillah. And more, whenever it says speak, it's the concept of prayer. Where do we see this? K'moshe katuv, et Hashem ha'amarta yo. For Hashem, you have spoken out to this day. Rav Nachman says elsewhere in the Likutey Moharan that the word and more is a type of speech that's like speaking to a friend. It is not a formal type of speech, like daber. When you say daber, it's more conservative. It's more rigid. But a more speak to the Kohanim means speak. Like you speak to your friend. Like you speak to your best friend. Go tell him what's up. That's tefillah. This is the tefillah that Rabbi Nachman is begging us to do. Don't talk to Hashem like he is the ruler of the world. Don't talk to Hashem like he is the king. Don't talk to Hashem like he is your superior. Talk to Hashem like he is your best friend and more. Speak to him. Now, obviously, there's a time and place for everything. When you pray the Amidah, so it's different. But when you go do Hipodadut, which is the key to everything, when you go talk to Hashem in your own words, it's a more. You speak. And what are you speaking out when you pray and you do your Hipodadut? Everyone always asks, what should I be saying when I go do Hipodadut? I don't know what to say for an hour. Kohanim, speak to the Kohanim. Meaning when you speak, when you do Hipodadut, it should be with the Kohanim. What does that mean? Hem Mechinat Torah, the Kohanim and the concept of Torah. Mechinat Neshamot, the concept of souls. Like we learned before, you need to turn Torah into tefillah. What's the deeper reason behind that? Because every single letter in the Torah is another soul of the Jewish people. And for the exile to end, both collectively and personally, we need these souls to be rectified. How do you rectify Jewish souls? You see this guy going off doing drugs. You see this guy going off and being with illegitimate unions. You see this person going off and doing this person going off and he doesn't believe in Hashem at all. This person, okay, what can I do to help? Every single time I try to say something to him, pushes him further away. When I love him, also doesn't do anything, you know? I mean, look, the answer of tefillah, those souls that are unrectified, they need to be in your mouth. How do I pray to those souls that are not rectified? How do I even know who they are? How do I know who I'm praying about? The answer is every single piece of Torah is unrectified souls. When you take a piece of Torah that you learn and you pray it out, you ask Hashem to be able to experience that thing that you learned, you are rectifying those souls. And those souls are the concept of Kohanim. Why? Ki siftei Kohen. Because the Kohen's lips, yishmeru da'at. They guard da'at, the Torah and Torah. So what does this mean? In Kabbalah and Chassidut, it's explained that despite the fact we know in the Jewish people that there's three levels, so to speak, of the Am, of the nation. You have the Kohanim, you have the Leviim, right? The Kohen, the Levi, and Yisrael, and the Jews, right? The Jews who are not Kohanim and Leviim. Good, that's true. However, in Kabbalah and Chassidut, they explain that within every Jew's soul, you have a level of your soul that's called Kohen. You have a level of your soul that's lower than that, that's called Levi. And then you have the lowest level of your soul called Yisrael. What's the level of soul Kohen connected to? Neshama. What's the level of Levi? Ruach. What's the level of Yisrael? Nefesh. You need all three. Because if you don't have a Neshama, the Ruach and the Nefesh are not going to be healthy. You have a Nefesh, but you don't have a Ruach and a Neshama, the Nefesh isn't going to be healthy. Every Jew needs every other Jew. Nobody's better, nobody's worse. We need all of it. So the concept of the Kohanim, these are the spiritual leaders of the Jewish people. They're called Kohanim. Just like the spiritual leader of your soul, of your psyche, of your psychology, of your inner reality is called the Kohen within you. So whenever you tap into the part of you that is true, you're connecting to the Kohen within your soul. Because that Kohen is the one who teaches God. He teaches God consciousness. So now he's saying, speak to the Kohanim, meaning do Ibodedut, go to the field, go pray to Hashem for an hour a day. And when you go pray to Hashem and talk to him, what should you be praying about? Take the Torah that you're learning every night from Rav Nachman and turn it into prayer. Because the Torah that you're learning is called Kohanim. All of the Kohanim, all of the souls of the Jewish people are called Torah. It's called the Kohen. And when you speak out the Kohen, meaning when you turn Torah and you turn it into tefillah, when you take what you learn and you pray about it, then you rectify those souls. And what about Aaron? In this pasuk, it says, Hashem spoke to Moshe, speak to the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, Bnei Aaron. Aaron, Bechinat Mishpat. Aaron's the concept of justice. Where do we see that? Kamoshe Katuv. V'nasa Aaron et Mishpat Bnei Yisrael. Because Aaron carried on his chest, on his heart, Mishpat. Justice. Now you're going to say, why should justice be on your heart? Justice is intellectual, no? But the answer is that when what you know in your head is on your heart, that's when you experience justice. What was on that breastplate? The 12 tribes of Israel. Every Jew was included on that breastplate. So who's Aaron? Because when you pray, it's not enough that you go to the field and that you turn Rabbeinu's Torah into tefillah, that you turn Rabbi Nachman's lessons and then you make your own prayer out of it. Even though that's the ikar, that's the essence, you don't have enough consciousness to have it be effective yet. But he's still with anger and confusion. He doesn't know when it's going to change. The answer is there's a system here. You have to turn the Torah into tefillah. You can't just learn Rabbi Nachman's Torah, go, oh, that's fire, and be inspired, and then go back and go blaze. That's not going to help you. You can't go, oh, that was awesome, I feel great, and then all of a sudden I just go back to my life. That's not going to help you. You have to take what you're learning right now. You have to go to the field tonight or tomorrow. You have to pray to experience whatever Rabbeinu is talking about. And if you don't understand what he's talking about, then ask Hashem to help you understand what he's talking about. Or if you do understand, but you don't even want what he's talking about, then ask Hashem to help you want what he's talking about. Because there is no doubt that whatever he says is good. There's no doubt. It's emet la'amito, it's the truth of truths. It's the ultimate good. However, because of where we're holding in the area of the Brit, meaning that either we're wasting seed physically in the areas of masturbation, in the areas of sexual unions that are not kosher according to the Torah, all of these are called wasted seed. But that's just the basic understanding. If you have an issue in that area, already it makes that your prayers are not effective. Let's say you're not wasting seed. Sat Hashem. You have such a zchut. But the Brit goes much deeper than that. The Brit has to do with the eyes, what you see. The Brit has to do with what you hear. The Brit has to do with what you breathe. The Brit has to do with what you eat. It's a very high level. If a person is shmirat the Brit, he's a master of the Brit. It's called Tzadik Yesod Olam, the foundation of the world. That's a very high level. It's okay that we're not holding that. That's okay. But how do I get my prayers answered? By turning the Torah into tefillah, take the lessons that I learned and I pray to experience it. What am I doing that if they're not going to get answered? How am I ever going to get better? The answer is that Rav Nachman's teaching that you have to attach it to the tzaddik of the generation. You attach your prayers to the true tzaddikim who are alive today, the true tzaddikim who are interred in the earth, and your tzaddik, the tzaddik Yisrael Olam, Rabbi Nachman ben Fega. The Nachal Naveh Makor Chochma, the flowing brook, the fountain of God consciousness. When you attach your prayers to Him, doesn't mean you're praying to Him, you're praying to Hashem. But when you attach your prayers to the tzaddik, who Rav Nachman teaches is the concept of Moshe Mashiach. It's in every generation, like the Arizal brings down, that the soul of Moshe is in every single generation. Then He builds the Mishkan out of your prayers. Where is the place of the Mishkan? That's the place of the revelation of godliness. Meaning it is that experience within your life. And then collectively, what is the Beit HaMikdash that we're all waiting for? Situation we have here. You are praying. What are you praying about? What you learned. Turn it into a prayer from your own heart. Say what's true for you about that prayer. And attach your prayers to the Tzaddik Yisod Olam. When you do this, then even though you're not Shmirat HaBrit yet, even though you're still wasting seed, or even if you're not physically wasting seed through masturbation, you are seeing things you're not supposed to be seeing. Or you're not seeing things you're supposed to be seeing, but you're eating in a way that is indulging in the physical world. Any overindulgence in the physical world is a blemish of the Brit at some level. So we're all in the same boat, okay? No matter where you're holding. So we need to connect ourselves to the master of the Brit. The one who sharpens the swords. So Rav Nachman. So attach your prayers to him. How do you do that? Very simple. Say Hashem, like I do before I start my Bodhidu, before I start my Amidah, before I learn, before I pray, Hashem, attach what I'm doing now to the Tzaddik Yisod Olam. So that He can take my prayers and put them in the right place to build that Beit HaMikdash that we're all waiting for. And then no matter where I'm holding, as long as I'm trying, if I'm trying and I attach my prayers to the tzaddik, and I'm going to the field and pounding the field every day to Hashem, those prayers will get answered. V'zeh Perush Rashi, and this is what Rashi, the secret of what he means. When Rashi says, what does it mean that you should go speak to the Kohanim? So he says, Lahazhir Hagadolim ala Katanim, to warn the grown-ups concerning the little ones. Meaning that they shouldn't be touching the dead. The Kohanim shouldn't be touching things that are impure. That the oldest should be teaching the little ones. So now, Rabbeinu says, Hayenu Tzadik Ador. This concept of the grown-ups Hazir, warning the little ones, is the concept of the tzaddik of the generation, the concept of Moshe, the concept of Mashiach, that he is Ma'or Hagadol, that he is what's called the great light. We know in the beginning of creation, Hashem made two great luminaries, the sun and the moon. The size of the moon was reduced, and the light of the sun shone very brightly. However, all of this was before the seventh day of creation. That was all completed. So what are those lights? What are those lights? So the sun is Moshe. The sun, that great light, is Mashiach. That great light is the tzaddik. Yazhir. What does it mean that he warns? It comes from the word Yazhir, which means to shine. Yes, here v'ya'ir, and he illuminates a tefillah is called the moon. From wherever you're holding, you're accessing the concept of the moon. What's the moon like? The moon is the only thing in the world that can receive the light of the sun. And not only can it receive it, it can reflect it in the darkness. This whole thing is a physical manifestation of a spiritual reality, which is the tzaddik is the sun. The moon is us. And we're in exile. That's called nighttime. This whole world is called night. How do we experience good, happiness, and joy in our life? We need to experience the light of the sun at night because our whole life is night. How do we experience the light of the sun? You need to reflect it like the moon because the moon is the only thing that can reflect the light of the sun. And how does it do it? The Zohar says by having nothing of its own. When do you have nothing of your own? Tefillah. Bitul. Self-nullification. When's the time that you do bitul, self-nullification? Hibodedut. When you go to the field, you have bitul. It's just you and Hashem. That's called the moon, having nothing of your own. And now, what are you placing in your mouth? The tzaddik's Torah. Meaning you're placing Moshe, Mashiach, in your mouth. The sun. And then by you having the sun, Moshe, Mashiach, his Torah in your mouth, and you're praying to be able to experience it, so you're like the moon reflecting the light of the sun. And then even though you're in exile, the moon is shining brightly. Because tefillah, according to the Zohar, is the concept of ma'or katan, the small light, the reduced light. This is the reason why Yeshaya says in the times of Mashiach, the light of the moon is going to be as bright as the light of the sun. Because right now, tefillah is the lesser light. It can only reflect the light of the sun. But when the Jewish people reach full humility and we nullify ourselves to God consciousness, to a transcendent reality, that we nullify ourselves completely to the tzaddik of the generation, then the light of the moon is going to be just as intense as the light of the sun. And what's holding us back from doing that? Gava, arrogance. I'm not saying arrogance, you think you're all that, you think you're this, you think it's much more subtle than that. It's so subtle. Arrogance is the most subtle thing. What does it mean to have gava? Gava is to assert yourself. Not your real self, your external self, your yesh, your ego. At all. Whenever you're exerting your ego, that is gava, arrogance. You're going to say, well, that's a very high level. How can I ever get to the point that I'm not arrogant? To attachment to a tzaddik. Because Rav Natan explains that when you're attached to a real tzaddik, that means you have to follow his advice, his guidance, his lessons, his wisdom. And when you're doing that, just the fact that you're following it, even though it doesn't make sense to you, you are humbling yourself. And this is experiencing the light of Hashem, back from experiencing pure godliness in your life, good, happiness, joy, peace, is self, it's ego. And it can be as subtle as you only want to help other people. You only want to do good for others. You only want to help here. You only want to do there. You say, how is that person arrogant? According to the secular world, that's the greatest person in the world. It's like the highest level. It's an issue. Why are you giving? Only because it makes you feel good. What's the problem with that? When there's self, Hashem's not there. The place where there is Gava, Hashem is not there. Meaning you don't consciously experience Hashem in your life. I had a person who were learning, he's saying they have no idea what they're learning, and they're learning it every day anyway. They're sitting there with their Likutey Moharans, and they're learning it day and night, and they're quoting this, and they're quoting that. They're going to the field, and they're talking to Hashem. They don't know anything. Rabbi Nachman is saying from this source, and from that source, and from this source, and from that source. He's a genius. And the people who are learning, they have no idea what he's talking about. I sat and I listened to him. I told him my take. Calmly, simply, my experience. And he fought back and said, da, 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 da. I said, okay, I hear you. I hear what you're saying. And he said to me, I'll tell you something. He admitted at the end of the conversation, after him yelling for half an hour. He said, David, I'll tell you the truth. The most humble people I ever met in my life were all breast lovers. They were all students of Rabbi Nachman. This is what he told me. And I thought to myself, what a pel. This is Peli Pliant, whatever that means. A wonder of wonders. You know, it's not a Breslov thing to be humble. It's what the Torah says. That the key to experiencing Hashem is humility. And if you're saying that the people who are students of Rabbi Nachman are all humble, but we all need to be humble. So why is it that breast lovers are so humble? Why is it that people that learn Rabbi Nachman's Torah are humble? Because to be able to experience what he's talking about, you have to nullify your own perception of reality. Limited, based on social factors, spiritual factors, based on historical factors. And you're living with the consciousness of a person who is with Hashem always. You're living with that consciousness in your life, even though you don't feel that yet. To do that takes tremendous humility. And if you get yourself to do it, you're humble. And if you're humble, you know what happens? You immediately experience Hashem in your life. Because the Yetzer Hara is not some spiritual force which is out in creation. The Yetzer Hara is Yesh, it's your ego. It's your sense of self as separate from reality. There's no such thing. It doesn't exist. You know what's going to happen that's going to bring peace in the world? You know what's going to happen that we're going to be able to coexist and to search for the truth together and to connect and to be happy and to be joyful and to have peace? When Hashem comes and slaughters the Yetzer Hara. What does that mean? Because the Gemara says clearly at the end, Bezrat Hashem should be now. What's going to change when Mashiach comes? He's going to slaughter the Yetzer Hara. What's the Yetzer Hara? Your sense of self, which exists separate from reality. There's me. There's a me. Just a me. My own agenda, my own goals, my own this, my own that. You know why everybody after the Yetzer Hara is going to be slaughtered is going to be so happy? The only thing that's going to happen is that your ego is going to be obliterated. You will no longer have an ego because it's not you. It's your Yetzer Hara. And as soon as that's gone, you're going to be in a state of Geula. So Rabbi Nachman says, why wait? Why wait? Do it now. Do it now. Everybody's going to mock you. Everybody's going to laugh at you. Okay. As my Rabbi used to say, let's see where they are in a few years. Let's see where I am. Look, everybody has dissuaded me from moving forward with Bresla, from learning more Rabbi Nachman's teachings, from doing this project. You want to know the truth? This is the greatest thing in the world. This is the greatest thing in the world. This is going to bring peace to the world. This is going to bring truth to the world. But you have to have holy chutzpah, like Rabbi Nachman says. You have to be bold for the sake of truth. Doesn't mean embarrassing others, chas v'shalom. Doesn't mean hurting other people. Humble. Humbly going about doing what you need to be doing. Because if you're living for the sake of others and you're wondering why you're unhappy, it's because you're not you. Yourself is in exile. That's why you're sad. But if you can accept your real self, if you can connect to your true self, if you allow yourself to do that, which you can only do through the humility that comes by being attached to the tzaddik of the generation, to the Moshe Mashiach, then you'll shine like the moon that receives the light of the sun. And you'll be happy. And you'll feel connected. And you'll see clearly. And you'll be able to help the whole world. The end of the pasuk says, "Let no Kohen defile himself." Oh, so a Kohen is a soul. Don't let a soul defile itself, meaning don't lose the koach, don't lose the strength of your God consciousness. Don't let your God consciousness go into exile by being near the dead. What's death? Wasting of seed. Masturbation. Watching things sexually which are not permitted according to the Torah. This is called death according to Chassidus. Why is it called death? Because it causes your consciousness to go into exile. You can't be filling your mind both with transcendent wisdom that we're learning now and at the same time watching porn. Because if you do that, your brain can't contain both. Because your neshama, your God consciousness, has no connection at all to that thing you're watching. And what does it do when it sees it? It leaves you. It goes into exile. And then you're wondering why afterwards you feel tired, you feel sad, you feel scared, you feel confused, you don't have energy, you don't have strength, you don't feel motivated. It's because your neshama went into exile. It's brought in the Zohar. Ikar de Yitzra Bisha. The basic drive of the Yetzer Hara. What is the goal of your Yetzer Hara? Your ego, your sense of self, which is separate from reality. The part of you which is trying to derail your ability to experience the God consciousness, which brings unity and peace and joy and happiness in your life. Al Aryan Vihi Ikara Dim Savuta. Sexual promiscuity. Anything which is a surah according to the Torah. That's what it wants you to do. Think about it. What happens when you're stressed? You need relief. So what's causing your stress? Your ego. your sense of self, that it's separate from the world, it's separate from Hashem, it's separate from the Jewish people. I have to do this, I have to do that, I need to do this, I need to do that. I need to go here, I need to go there. I need to have my own. I need to do what I want to do. And then what happens? You get very stressed. And then what happens when you get stressed? You need relief. So what's the whole point? Why does your Yetzer Hara make you feel ego? Why does it make you feel separate? Because it wants you to be stressed. So that you can then go relieve your stress by wasting seed. Because as soon as you waste seed, your God consciousness goes into exile. Your ability to perceive the unity of reality, something transcendent, something that's above this physical world while it's still down here, whoop, goes away. You don't feel it. You don't feel it in your heart. You don't experience it. Ushmor et Brit. But when a person guards the Brit, he's not wasting seed. Then he's able to get every single one of his prayers answered. You're going to tell me, oh, it's so hard though. How am I not going to watch this? You have a million things on TV and YouTube and Netflix and okay, Yofi, good. You know what's even more awesome? I go to the field and Hashem answers every one of my prayers. That is awesome. That's awesome. That's so much cooler than watching a movie. I'm living in one. I go to the field, I ask Hashem, I need this, and Hashem gives it to me. I say to Hashem, I need this, Hashem gives it to me. Every single one. Is there something special about me? No. Is there something different about me than you? No. You also can. To the degree that you don't waste seed, to that degree your prayers get answered. And that is so much cooler than any of the garbage that you're watching on TV. Because then your life is the same. And then you're stressed. And then you go back and watch. And then you go back and you do this. You do it every day. Now you're 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Okay. Who's had enough? I've had enough. I don't want that anymore. I don't want to be sad anymore. I don't want to be confused anymore. I don't want to be angry anymore. I want to go to the field. I want to ask Hashem for things that I need, that are coming from a good place, for my family, for myself, for the Jewish people, for my students, for Hashem, and get those prayers answered. That is the coolest thing in the world. Imagine how many people are doing drugs. Why? So they can experience something transcendent. So they can experience something above. Because their life is making them miserable. What if you didn't have to do drugs? What if you can feel high without doing drugs? And it's real. But you go to the field and you get your prayers answered. And for my praise, I'm going to plug my nose for you. Like we learned in the beginning of the Torah, what does that mean? The thing that mitigates judgments is your prayers. When you're shmirat habrit, when you're not wasting seed. Then Hashem says, I'm going to mitigate, I'm going to nullify all negativity in your life. Because the essence of the reach, of scent, which we learned is the scent of Mashiach, meaning, as opposed to Shlomo Melech, that he was the king and he ruled with his understanding, his hearing. And Moshe Rabbeinu, he ruled with his eyes, with his sight, with his God consciousness. Mashiach is going to rule with the sense of smell. What is that? Tefillah. He is going to be able to conquer all of his difficulties, all of his obstacles in life. He's going to be able to overcome every single one of them for himself and for the Jewish people through prayer alone. But how is he getting all those prayers answered? Because he has reyach, he has the ability to smell. What is he smelling? His smell comes from the Shmirat Brit, his ability to smell. The ability to smell comes from Shmirat Brit. To Louis Batara, it's dependent on your level of sexual purity. So to the degree that you are pure in the area of sexuality, what you see, what you hear, what you taste, what you experience, what you watch, when you are in the act, to that degree, you have reyach. You have the scent of Mashiach. Because every single one of us has a part of us that's called Mashiach. To tap into that part is to be sexually pure. To the degree that you're sexually pure, to that degree you tap into the Mashiach inside of you, who's able to overcome all negativity in his life through his prayers. As our sages teach, that when purity was lost, fragrance was taken away from the world. It says this in the Gemara Masechet Sotah. That when sexual purity went away, reyach was lost. We're not able to smell, and whatever we're smelling is not real smelling. Because scent is the highest spiritual sense. It's connected to the keter. It's connected to the crown of your soul. The place that can transform reality. The place where you feel that your ability to have purity. Shama, like it says, Reicha dechanu nita ani mereyach. Like it says, Rav Huna found some dates and he wrapped them in his prayer, talit, his shawl. Amarle, he said, Bani, my son, tahara yesh bacha, I smell the scent of these dates about you. And he said, my son, Bani, tahara yesh bacha, you possess purity. Because you can smell those dates, it means that you must be pure. Nachman's teaching, this is actually because dates are the consonants of Israel. Each of those 7 fruits is connected to a different of the 7 lower sefirot. The lowest sefirah, Malchut, is connected to the dates. Davash, the honey from the dates. How is he able to smell those dates? Meaning, how is he able to get his prayers answered? Because he had the sense of scent. Where did he get the sense of scent from? Tapping into the Mashiach inside of him through his area of sexual purity. In conclusion, the Torah, second Torah, Likutey, to each of you that you've been here since the beginning. That we've been able to do this thing. Moharan, you can live with just this reason he gave you, love Mashiach, until he achieved purity. Because he had clouds. What were those clouds? Corrupted justice. Why do you have corrupted justice? Meaning the ability to put in all my hishtalut, to go to the field and to pray to Hashem, and still at the same time know that whatever happens, whatever Hashem wants to. To have that balance, to have that harmony, to know that I have to go and I have to pray in order to make things happen. At the same time, no, it's all Hashem. How are you able to have that balance, to hold those two realities at the same time? You need to have this quality of mishpat, of justice. How do you do that? You need to give tzedakah. Who are you giving tzedakah to? Moshe Mashiach. The tzaddik of the generation. You give him your tzedakah. It fixes your quality of just to go pray, and you're going to have to know whatever happens in the end is Hashem, and it's good. And when you have justice that you have acquired through giving tzedakah, meaning that you have clarity in terms of your prayer, and you're not distracted by extraneous thoughts. You did that through giving tzedakah because it rectifies your brit. Because the reason you can't think clearly and you're having distractions is because you have a pagam of the brit. You're wasting seed. And now that you're not wasting seed, and not just that you're not wasting seed, but it's rectified by giving tzedakah to the tzaddik, now you can get all of your prayers answered, and not just answered, but in a way that's good for you, that's good for your family, that's good for your friends, that's good for the Jewish people, that's good for the world. And Bezrat Hashem, that brings the Mashiach in your own personal life, that brings redemption in your own personal life, and that should bring Bezrat Hashem, the Moshe Mashiach of Klal Yisrael, Yurav Yameinu. It should bring the Beit HaMikdash, should bring this back to the land of Israel, and Mamash, that we should live in a state of Geula, of health, like the way Hashem created us, that we have consciousness, not consciousness of television, not consciousness of secular wisdom, transcendent God consciousness, and to live with it in this world. And you have that, you have peace, you have health, you have happiness, you have joy, you have wealth, you have everything. So everything is in these first two Torahs. And all the rest of Likutey Moharan are going to be ways to figure out how to tap into these first two. Does anybody have any questions from this lesson? You should have questions. Your ability to be implemented. The question, how do I take what I learned tonight and go do something with it? If you do that, you're good. If you just got inspired, but you go back to whatever you're doing, okay? So don't wonder why your life is the same tomorrow as it was today. Rav Nachman says that if your life tomorrow is the same as it was today, you have no reason to be alive tomorrow. So let's figure it out. Any questions? Did anybody hear this class?
Rabbi, good question.
Go ahead.
We're talking about the Brit. That's a priority. That's a must for men. Men that are married, it's a little easier for them to control and have not to go and be with women and look at different things. They're more on a calm side with their wife, But I'm talking about Brit with the eyes on a daily basis, just walking around with the kids, even if you don't want to. I mean, how do you control? I mean, it's like you have to isolate yourself, put yourself in a room, and just study all day long. So obviously you don't see this stuff, but it's not going to happen. It's going to be, and now if a person sees it, now what does that mean? That's my question. What does that mean? That means he's not at a level, he's at a low level, he has to learn more, he's doing a virah. Like, what does that mean?
Okay, good question. So if Nachman does not say you have to go learn Torah all day and go into a cave. So like your question is a good question then. So how do we do that? Because we live in a world that this is all we see. And if I want to be a normal functioning person, I have to be happy with my family. My family has to be happy. That means they have to go do things. So there's a lot to say about this, but I'll give you a few answers. First thing is that you need to pray to Hashem that you don't see anything which is going to blemish this part of your consciousness. That's going to cause your consciousness to go into exile, okay? That's your hishtadlut. That's your effort. And when you go do Iborodut in the morning, before the day starts, you say to Hashem, Hashem, please help me not to see anything which is going to cause my consciousness, my transcendent God consciousness, that's going to bring me joy and happiness and peace in my life, to go into exile. I don't want it anymore. I want experience this thing that Rabbi is talking about. And if you attach that prayer to the subject, to have barriers, you need to put up boundaries, right? You have to do your best within the confines of your relationship, within the confines of yourself. If you have a cell phone and you're looking up different websites, and those different websites have different advertisements, you know what's going to happen, and you know you have to go on those websites. You need to figure out a way that those advertisements don't come up. You have to figure out a way, or you don't go on those websites. You have to do something for work, and you're going to see things that are coming up and popping up. You have to be proactive, because I don't want anything bad to happen to me. That's not going to help you. That's not going to help you feel good. That's not going to help you grow. That's not going to help you elevate. You have to want to experience prayers that get answered. By having a positive goal, you're going to be able to have the motivation to go into it and say, is it worth it that I just see something for no reason, and now I'm going to pray, I'm not going to get answered because of that? I can get my prayers answered. So you have to do whatever you can to put up safeguards, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on your computer, whatever it is. So that means that even when you're interacting with the world, you're still having safeguards. That's how you be proactive, okay? Now let's say you do all of that. You put safeguards up, meaning that nothing on your phone is going to come up because you put these safeguards up. Let's say at the same time also, you're praying that you shouldn't experience it. Okay, good, so you did your hishtadlut. And you're learning Rav Nachman's Torah every day. Okay, good, you're doing what you can do. Now you say to Hashem, Hashem, the rest is on you. I'm doing what I can do. My wife does this, so I need you to help me. And you will see that when you get to a certain level, spiritually, everyone around you is going to start changing. And you're not going to believe that until it happens. And you're not going to see it until you have changed. So your main focus needs to be on yourself. Just on yourself. Not your fake self, not your ego, your real self, the self that you're trying to invest in, the self that you're trying to build, the part of you that you've always wanted to experience. Any other questions?
So just to follow up on that, if you did see it, and right away you move your head, I'm not talking about on the phone or on the computer or anything like that. I'm talking about just walking with the kids to the park, and you did see it and you put your head down. That split second, whatever you saw, does that affect your prayers as well?
I know this is going to be hard to believe, but you can get to a point that you can see things and not have an arousal. But that takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of self-sacrifice. It takes a lot of learning Rabbi Nachman's Torah and living it. And you can get to the point that you're so focused. You're so you get to a point that you're so elevated in what you're doing. It doesn't mean you're like someone else. It doesn't mean like you're like the Baba Sali. It doesn't mean you're you to the best of your ability. You could do this and you could see things and you're not as affected. You're not affected. That doesn't mean you go looking for it. You don't. You have the safeguards. You pray to Hashem that you don't see. And then if you saw it, so what are you going to do about it? Hashem caused it. So Hashem caused it. So what are you going to do? So this is what I do. I say to Hashem, this is how Rabbi Nachman talk to Hashem. I'm preparing for Shabbat. I'm doing the best that I can. I got this, I got that, I got this. Now Shabbat's here. Boom, it's on you. I'm going to be happy this Shabbat because I did what I could. I'm throwing it on you. And Hashem loves that. Hashem loves that. You have to pray like that. Now, obviously, if you're not doing the best that you can, you're not going to have the confidence to talk to Hashem like that. But if you are, you need to talk like that. Hashem loves that. Nachman says you have to speak like a doing the best that I can. This is where I'm holding. I need more help from you. I need you to help me. If you don't want me to do this, so help me, because this is my best. He's going to answer that, provided that you are attached to a tzaddik, that you're giving tzedakah in whatever way you can, whether it's through financial means, whether it is through spreading his Torah, that's also tzedakah, whether it's through humbling yourself by following his advice, even though it doesn't make sense to you, or even though you don't want to, that's also called tzedakah. And provided you do that, you do the best you can, Hashem is going to help you.
Rabbi, I'm sorry to interfere. Can you hear me?
Yes, but one second, and
Okay.
there's just 1 second. What would you advise for someone with little to no motivation? I've tried changing, but the main issue is not doing what to do because I'm not willing to wake up from a slumber of going to the same routine every day. Oh, Baruch Hashem.
But I wanted to talk
Baruch
about
Hashem,
what you
I'm with
spoke,
you.
not this question.
Okay, but you gotta wait, Abraham. You gotta wait.
Oh, okay, it was the same topic. Okay,
I
it's
know,
okay,
I know,
whatever.
I know.
Okay,
Just 1
sorry.
second. It's okay. I'm also tired of it. We're all tired of it. I don't want to be the same anymore. What is the path? How do you not be the same? Again, the answer is attachment to a real tzaddik. Nobody's going to tell you that. Nobody's going to tell you that makes sense. Nobody's going to tell you that you should do that. Okay. Are you listening to these classes? Does this resonate with you as true? Do you believe the words that are coming out of my mouth? Do you feel what I feel? It's all the tzaddik. It's not a foreign concept in the Torah. It's a concept that has went into exile, but it's not a foreign concept. The Gemara says very clearly that you need to be connected to Talmidei Chachamim and Tzaddikim. It's like the Shekhinah in your life. That the pasuk in the Torah that says that you need to have your ikut doesn't just mean means that you have union with Hashem.
See, I'm the host now.
You guys hear me?
You see, I'm the host now.
You guys hear me?
I told you needed to listen to what I said.
Unbelievable. My phone went out. Okay, Yofi. We'll do without the background right now. This is my house. Pretty sweet digs I got over here. Just kidding. Okay. It's just a wall. Anyway, okay, so the person who asked the question, Whatever. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if this is working. Okay. Forgive the fact that it doesn't look like I'm talking to you. Okay. You have to be attached to a real tzaddik. Devekud. What does Rashi say? It means that devekud that's Hashem. He's not physical. So how do you experience the Shekhinah in your life? How are you experiencing God consciousness in your life? You need to be attached to tzaddikim and talmidei chachamim. That's what Rashi says. Nobody argues on a Peshat and Rashi in the Torah. It's a fact. Okay, great. Now the Zohar goes further and says, Mamish, that there's a tzaddik Yisod Olam, that there is a tzaddik who's the foundation of the world, that he is a river that runs from Eden, and that all the godliness that's in the world, all the shefa that comes into the world, all the blessing that comes in the world, comes from that tzaddik. So what you're doing right now, by listening to this class, is you are attaching yourself to that tzaddik. How do you attach yourself more? Do what he says, even though you don't want to. Because you don't not want to. That doesn't make sense. You want to. You just can't, because your consciousness is in exile, and that's not your fault. It is that the fact that you have a great soul, and the Yetzer Hara does not want your soul to reveal itself. How does it do that? By keeping you from being attached to truth and experiencing it in your life and bringing it into your life. How do you do that? Learn Rabbi Nachman's Torah every single day, without fail. Take what you learn and pray to Hashem that you should be able to do it. So you can't say a word, that's fine. Go to a field for an hour alone. That's hitbodedut. Say to Hashem, Hashem, I can't speak. I have no motivation to talk. That's a prayer. Talk from wherever you're holding. You can't speak. You don't have words to say. You can't even get words out. Hashem, help me to talk. Scream. I spent the whole year screaming.
Sorry.
1 second. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. You feel a sense of void. You feel a sense of a lacking. You feel a sense of lack of energy. You don't feel life force. It's because society is corrupt. It's because the whole goal that society brings to you is not based on reality. It's made up. The only good is in the Torah. Who teaches you that good? The tzaddik. So how do you wake up from your slumber? You need to self-sacrifice and to nullify yourself to this tzaddik. And when you do that, by listening and learning his wisdom every day and trying your best to follow the things that he tells you to do and praying to Hashem to be able to experience the things that he's talking about, and you do this to whatever your level is, even if that just means screaming, or even if that just means being alone in the field, ultimately Hashem will have empathy for you and he will wake you up. Yes, Abraham, you want to say something?
Yes. So regarding the eyes and going out with the kids, whatever. So first of all, Rabbi said in a few places that with the guarding the eyes, if you see something improper, especially with things with like the thing, sexual immoralities, it's like, oh, I saw it. Like if you dwell and you put it in, it's gonna make it worse. I can't see. I shouldn't see. Oh my God, I saw. It says it makes it worse. One of the things that it makes it, you want it because you put it into your consciousness. So if you're going with the kids or whatever, or you saw something that's improper, don't dwell on it. That's number one. Number two, I didn't see Midabenu. I heard it from a different source. I forgot where. That, like, it's not about the seeing. The looking is the issue. Like, you're going around, you're pressing around. Like, the first look, it's not the first look that you're going to get, let's say, judge or whatever. Or the first sight that you see. It's that second. It's when you really weren't trying to look. If you're going around with your kids, or you're in a boom and dress properly, so you saw, okay, whatever. But if you do, I saw, what am I doing? Whatever, that's an issue. And if you're dwelling and trying to look, that's also the issue. And besides, just like also you said, okay, so you the kid, you saw something. Even not in the levels of the tzaddikim that, like, there was a Mora that he put like a kala on and later dance on his shoulders, whatever, and they told him, Rabbi, what it is, what are you doing? Whatever. It's like a log to me. Her and a log is the same thing. Even if you're not in that level, just you say you're with the kids, you're outside, be focused on what you're doing. You're there with your family. Unfortunately, whatever, it's not my cup of tea. I went with my kids to Disney World and SeaWorld. It's not my cup of tea at all. But I try to stay focused and make them happy. You joke with them, laugh with them, take them, pick them up, buy them stuff. Okay, so you're in this situation, but you think Hashem is gonna whatever. You're like Anus. You're in a situation that you're trapped. And also what you said about the person who doesn't feel like with the bodadus, like going whatever. One of the things, like you said, they say that it's like a kol sheken. It's even more so. If Rabbeinu says you have to learn Torah b'koach, by force, meaning out loud, or screaming the bodadus, or learning when you don't feel like learning, kol sheken, not just learning the Torah, doing it. You don't feel like going to the field, but you're here in the classes, you're listening, you believe in the Rabbi, we believe in you. So you go, right? And I heard from Rav Ofer Erez, there's a lot of avodos and stuff to do in the bodadus, tshuva, praying, asking, singing, praising. But first of all, go just to be. If you're going with the avoidance of like cheshbon nefesh and itboinus, and you have to do yeshuva, that's telling in your mind and all these things. A strong person, he says, lasts for 7 days. Medium person, like 3 to 5. A person like us is a day or two. Go to the lake, bounce some rocks on the lake, lay down in a tree, even shtickle, like read a book or whatever. He asked even Rav Levi Yitzchak Bender, one of the greatest, and I'll finish with the greatest bestsellers in the last generation. He said, what if you fall asleep during his bodadus? Is it considered bodadus? He called it, it's holy sleep. Maybe if you're down your intention just to go and fall asleep, right? Maybe just for a shtickle, put an alarm, but it's okay. Just go and be. The bodadus is be alone. Of course, we have to talk. It's epitome. Like I said once, Rav Ausch went months and months without saying anything. Couldn't open his mouth. Look where he is now. Look who he is now. We eat, sleep, breathe. His everything is also from him. That's it.
Thank you.
So he's not alone. He's definitely not alone.
No, 100%. I couldn't speak. I couldn't speak for years. I couldn't talk for years. I couldn't talk for years, and I have no problem talking.
I do a lot of times before I even go. I don't know how my daughter is going to go. I'm saying, even though I said it once for my whole life, I said, Hashem, I'm going to this bodadus. I don't know what's going to be, if I'll be able to talk. I'm making a declaration now, a gilui da, that I'm stopping the craziness. I'm showing that you call the shots around the world. That's it. Everything extra is bonus. That's it. Big things happen from this.
Thank you. Very good. Any other last questions before we finish this, cap this Torah? And Bezrat Hashem, Thursday night, we're going to start a brand new Torah in Likutey Moharan, Torah Gimel, which is amazing, and you need to listen to that. Any last questions?
If nobody's going to ask a question, if you don't mind, one more question, Rabbi.
Go ahead.
We talked about secular wisdom, not allowed to. Everything that I used to learn a lot of secular wisdom, a lot, because my job is entailing to teach that to the other people. Everything that I learned from the secular wisdom, not that I'm learning from Rabbi Nachman and everything else, is just similar. So am I allowed to take these concepts and teach it to the Goyish world, teach it to the people? Not saying that this is Rabbi Nachman, and just like, for example, everybody should have a Rebbe they can cling to, connect to. In the Goyish world, they teach the same thing. You have to find somebody who's better than you at work, and you got to try to cling to him, to be better than him, and spiritually and physically and everything. So can I take these aspects, what I learned these lessons, which in every lesson is just deep things you could bring out and in a secular way. Am I allowed to do that?
Okay, great question. So the answer is that the answer is like this. There's a concept of enclothing in Kabbalah. To have a levush, to be enclothed. What does that mean? It means you take a light, you take God consciousness, and you enclothe it, meaning you package it, so that a person who's not holding in a certain level can experience what you're saying while he's holding where he's holding. So that's good. What's the problem? We are not skilled at doing that. And more than that, Rabbi Nachman says that when you go and try and do that with a person who doesn't believe, and you're not holding yet in a place of real emunah, so now what's going to happen is that person is actually going to affect you and your level tremendously just by trying to do that. We're going to learn about that in the 4th Torah of Moharan, in the 8th Torah. So anyway, I would say right now, if you just started learning these classes, your main focus should be you transforming yourself. And when you have transformed yourself, and you're going to know, it's not going to be like, oh, do I know if I'm growing? You're going to know. You're going to know. Your internal state will not be chaos anymore. You're not going to be angry all the time. You're not going to get sad all the time. You're not going to be confused all the time. You're going to feel very close to Hashem. And when you're able to do that, and then you're able to give over, then you have more protection. And also that you have to be a chassid. It means that when you go to talk to somebody, you have to be on a mission. It can't just be you're having like a talk by the water cooler, so they say, where you're just talking. You don't have a mission when you go speak to that person. You're just talking. Then they can have a tremendous effect on you. It's not their fault, but they're just not holding in a certain way, and they have a certain ruach, they have a certain energy. That energy affects you because you're not yet whole. But if you're going on a mission, you're a chassid, you're a hasid, you're going on a mission to spread emunah, and that's your goal, so you're less likely to get derailed from your mission. You're less likely to have negative influence from the situation. But this is what I've been saying to my students for years. Your main focus should be that you should become the Torah. And while you are becoming the Torah, then you can start to help others. It doesn't mean you shouldn't bring them. It doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about the lessons. It doesn't mean you shouldn't talk about anything. You should shine this light on everybody to bring them. But there is a danger. There is a danger. Does that answer your question?
Yes and no. Maybe more. It's like, yeah, you did, but maybe it's more like a personal level. Maybe if I could call you and we could talk and explain myself a little better.
Sure.
Thank you so much.
You can spread emunah to everybody. I mean,
It's not really emunah. It's not really emunah. I'm not teaching the way of God. It's just lessons. For example, being happy with what you have, looking at the good thing instead of looking at the bad.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, good. Yeah, why not?
Yeah. So I'm not teaching. I'm not saying, okay, Rabbi Nachman, this is what he teaches. I'm not talking to the goyim, but there's so many key things. Like you would even bring it out, and
it's fine.
I have like. Okay.
It's okay.
Okay, perfect.
It's good. But the main thing is that you have to ask yourself, while you're trying to explain it to them, could you be using that time to do something else? Could you be using that time for you to be learning it, for you to be living it, for you to be experiencing it, for you to be transforming it within yourself?
But that's part of my job.
Okay, so then if you're at your job, you're doing it anyway. So yeah, so you lift up the job. Just talk in the way that they need to talk.
Okay.
But also, when you're at work, you're also on a mission. Everywhere
Yes.
you go, you're on a mission. You are a Jew. That means that you're here to shine the light of the consciousness of the Ein Sof into the world, of the infinite one, the one who has no limits, the one who has, there's no boundaries, no constrictions, no nothing. When you're in a workplace, Rav Nachman is going to speak a lot about work and what should be your mindset when you're at work. He's going to talk about all this. Rav Kramer, actually, the book that he's working on right now is taking all of Rabbi Nachman's Torah and living with it at work, which is amazing, something we really need. They need funding to do that at BRI. And Bezrat Hashem, he needs to be healthy, obviously, so we should continue to pray for him. For Chaim Menachem ben Leah. But Rav Nachman speaks about your mindset, your consciousness, your goal at work, a lot. There's a lot of Torah on it. So yeah. Okay. Everybody have an amazing, amazing night. Your job from tonight until Thursday when we meet up again, tomorrow night's the women's class, take what you learned in the first 2 Torahs, turn it into tefillah. Go to the field, take an hour out of your day. Don't say you don't have an hour. Nobody has an hour. If I have an hour, you have an hour. You don't have an hour. You make the hour. If you're going on a date to see, you're trying to get married, you say, I don't have time to go on a date. No. You say, okay, I'm going to make a time. And then we go on a date. Same thing. You have date night and date day with Hashem. You can't say you don't have time for that. Nobody has time for that. You do it anyway. And when you go there, what are you doing? You talk to Hashem about the Torah that you're learning. And you ask Hashem to be able to experience. Hashem, help me to experience what it's like to get my prayers answered. Hashem, help me to experience what it's like to not waste seed and to get my prayers answered because of that. Hashem, help me to experience what it's like not to have distracting thoughts when I pray. Hashem, help me to experience giving tzedakah to a real tzaddik, what that's like and what that does to me. Hashem, help me to makayim and to go out in the world and to do the things that I'm learning. And attach your prayers to the tzaddik emet. Say, Hashem, please help that these prayers are connected to the true tzaddik, to the tzaddikim who are in this generation, the real tzaddikim in this generation, the ones who are in the ground. And attach those prayers to them so they can place it wherever they need to go in all the spiritual olamot, so that we can bring geula, so we can bring redemption to our personal life and to the world. Everybody have an amazing night, an amazing couple nights, and Bezrat Hashem, with Hashem's help, we're going to start the 3rd Torah in Likutey Moharan, Gimel. It's an amazing Torah. Amazing. Okay? Tell your friends, tell your family. Let's spread the light. Everybody have a great night.